love, we'll say down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I got the love, we'll say down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I love my brothers and my sisters cause it's down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I love my brothers and my sisters cause it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay.
I love Billy Omo Day because it's down in my heart.
Well, down in my heart. Hey, down in my heart. I love Billy Omo Day because it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay.
I love my family and ancestry because it's down in my heart.
Hey, down in my heart. Down in my heart. I love my ancestry and ancestry because it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay.
I love Jose and I love it cause it's down in my heart.
Well, down in my heart, yeah. Down in my heart. I love Jose because it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay.
I love the spirit of my heart because it's down in my heart.
Yeah. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I love the spirit of my heart because it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay.
I love praying and studying because it's down in my heart.
Yeah. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I love praying and studying because it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I love my blackness because it's down in my heart.
Yeah?
Down in my heart.
Yeah?
Down in my heart. I love my blackness because it's down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. Down in my heart to stay. Down in my heart to stay. Down in my to stay. To stay. To stay.
We're doing another song.
Good morning, we'll say.
Good morning, Robert. Hi.
There's no microphone. Because I guess you can hear me anyway.
Yeah.
But not on the tape. Oh, there's no tape. So it doesn't matter. Good morning, we'll say. We've come to that time in our service that we call our historical tribute. It's a time that we at Will Say take out each and every Sunday to pay honor, to pay homage, to pay tribute to some not necessarily famous, but some important person, place, or event in our history, in African history. And we do it every Sunday because we know if we don't remember ourselves, we will be forgotten. And if we don't honor ourselves, then nobody else will. And so I have the pleasure of bringing the historical tribute this morning. And I want to start with, well, not really a test, but a question. I'm going to do a historical tribute. My subject today is a sister whose sister Dinesha, is she here? I thought I saw her.
Yes, I saw her.
Okay, whose sister Dinesha mentioned in her historical tribute a few weeks ago. Her name is Sister Rashida Mustafa Muhammad. Is anybody familiar with her? Just raise your hand. Okay, 3 of you, okay. I really wasn't familiar with the sister, but in 2007, the Oakland City Council named a street after the sister in what they call Uptown Oakland. Okay? Yeah, so there's a street after the sister. I don't normally do this, but I want to just read a little bit about her. It says, by all accounts, Rashida Mustafa Muhammad was the kind of warm, caring person who would share her last piece of bread. If you were sick, she would rummage around in her medicine chest to dispense whatever remedy she had. She was always smiling and partial to beautiful African dresses. She was a fighter and never stopped, tirelessly working to rid her West Oakland neighborhood of drugs, crime, and blight, all the while reaching out to the homeless and the less fortunate. She also served as chair of the Prescott Neighborhood Crime Prevention Council for 8 years. Okay, so she sounds like a beautiful sister, and I'm sorry that I never got to meet her and I didn't know her or know of her. But then I was reading an article, in fact, it's on this table back here, about the sister. It was in one of the, I guess, the Oakland posters that Sister Afua brings us. And I was shocked to find out that I did know this sister, but by another name, back in 1975, you know. And so in 1975, the sister's name was Desi Woods. Desi X Woods. Okay? So how many have heard of Desi Woods? All right, okay. So, one historical tribute is about Sister Rashida Mustafa Muhammad, also Desi Woods. Now, Desi Woods' story begins on June 17th, 1975, when she and a friend of hers, Cheryl Todd, were hitchhiking home to Atlanta from visiting Cheryl Todd's brother in a prison in Reedsville, Georgia. They live in Georgia. Now, before I go on, that was 35 years ago. It was a different world. Hitchhiking was a lot different in 1975 than it is today. So, two sisters were picked up in Georgia by an insurance salesman, an old white man, insurance salesman, whose name I have, but there's no reason to mention it up here. Okay. And so he was giving them a ride. And as old white men did in those days, he pulled off down this dark, deserted road, and he was going to rape the sister. He was going to rape her. And so the sister Cheryl, who was sitting in the front, jumped out of the car and ran into the woods. Okay? So the old white guy reached for his gun because he was going to stop her. And Desi Woods, who was sitting in the back, reached over the seat, and they struggled for the gun. Now, one of the things I read last night in preparing for this was the newspaper by the African People's Socialist Party, The Burning Spear, and the way they said it was that Desi Woods was successful in removing this colonial attacker from the land of the living and ensuring that he would never again attack another African woman. So I like that. Okay, and so then after she shot him. After she shot him, she took his money, and then they left to get him because they had to get home to Atlanta. Okay, so they both of them, Sister Cheryl and Sister Desi, were arrested and charged with murder and armed robbery. Cheryl Todd got a lawyer, but Desi Woods had to rely on a public defender, and so they eventually went to trial in a place called Hawkinsville, Georgia. Population 3,000, and it was mainly cotton and peanut farms. Okay, so we don't expect a lot of justice in those days, or today either, really, in a place called Hawkinsville, Georgia. Okay, so Desi Woods was a defiant sister, and she pleaded not guilty, and she steadfastly claimed that she was innocent because she acted in self-defense. You know, she said what she did was right, and that she would do it again in the same situation. She would do it again. Well, needless to say, she scared those white folks down there. She scared them. They were afraid of her, and so they went to trial. Cheryl Todd was convicted of just a robbery and was given a really light sentence, less than 2 years, and most of that was spent on probation. But they need to teach Desi Woods, the sister, they saw her as a threat, and they needed to teach her a lesson. So she was convicted. They couldn't convict her of murder, but she was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and armed robbery and sentenced to 22 years in prison. Okay. Now, once on the inside, she remained a defiant sister. She organized other prisoners, and consequently, she was continually harassed. She was drugged. She was beaten and brutalized and put into solitary confinement. The white folks didn't know what to do with this strong African sister in their prison system. So they messed with her every way that they could. Anyway, an international movement grew up around Desi Woods and her situation. And it was back in the 70s. It was when we had all those free movements. There was Free Huey, and there was Free Joan Davis, Joan Little. There was Free the Bloomington 10, Free the RNA 11, Free Geronimo Pratt. And Desi Woods was one of those, and one of the largest ones in the country. Her name became a household word. It was national and international, and her picture was everywhere. On November 1st, 1976, she appealed to the Georgia Supreme Court, and despite the fact that there were 20 errors committed in her trial that they admitted, they did not reverse her sentence. She was still found to be guilty. Okay, but we didn't expect any justice in Georgia anyway. And let me just say this, one thing that hasn't changed, you know, from then to now, if you look at it, when they bring a gun to a situation with an unarmed black person, if they kill us, they don't go to jail.
Right.
If we get the gun and kill them, we go to jail. There's, in my opinion, if Trayvon Martin had lived and George Zimmerman had been lined in, there's no way Trayvon Martin would be walking free today. No way. Okay. But I digress. Okay, so finally in 1981, after serving 5 years of her 22-year sentence, Desi Wood's case went to the U.S. Court of Appeals, United States, the federal court, and they determined that there had been insufficient evidence to convict or imprison her, and she was released from Hardwick Prison and relocated in Oakland, California. Okay, she moved to Oakland. Now, normally my story would end there, but the rest of the story is kind of interesting, so I want to share it. I'm beating my time period. So while she was in Oakland, she was speaking at a place called your Black Muslim Bakery. I'm sure some of you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first tofu sandwich I ever had. And it was good. It was good. In your Black Muslim Bakery. And so she was speaking there, and she met this brother, and they fell in love, and they got married. Okay. So she married this brother from Oakland. And the year after they were married, he was killed on the streets of Oakland. And the following year, she married his best friend and the person that had been the best man at their wedding. Okay. And so together they raised 7 children. He had 6 from a previous marriage, and she raised her grandson, her granddaughter, who custody she got after her son was killed in the streets of Oakland. Okay. She raised her granddaughter from an infant. Anyway, so she and this brother were married for almost 25 years. Until on November the 4th, 1906, after 1 month after being diagnosed, I'm sorry, 2006, thank you. November the 4th, 2000, I just want to see if anybody was listening. So on November the 4th, 2006, a month after she was diagnosed with lung cancer, she succumbed to it, and she made her transition and went to join the ancestors here in Oakland at Southern Hospital. And so this morning's service is dedicated to the memory, to the spirit, to the strength, and to the work of Sister Desi Woods. May she live forever and ever and ever in the hearts and the minds of our people.
Runs a tight schedule, and thank you, Brother Triangle, for that wonderful historical tribute. Historical tributes continue to be a continual and main part of the service at the Wilson community. We try to keep at least 5 generations of the history of our people alive and in the forefront. And each week, historical tribute is dedicated to a particular individual. So that's also an invitation for anyone who may want to sign up for historical tribute, because I believe Brother Shango is having that schedule right now. Sacrifice offers an opportunity for us to return a portion to the community that we have received for the week. Here at the Wilson community, we are a self-sustaining organization. these sacrifices, these contributions assist us in sustaining ourselves. And so we thank you, each and every one. I see Sister Guinness moving to the altar, but as you finish writing your checks, this morning's inspiration is coming from the seal. Coming from the book of Psalms, one of my favorite books, page 84, passage number 4, subtitle, Song and Praise of the Learned. It reads, as for those learned scribes of the time that came after the powers of heaven and who foretold the future, their names have become everlasting, even though they have departed, having completed the days of their lives. And all their relatives are forgotten. They made not for themselves pyramids of metal, with stela of metal from heaven. They did not know to leave heirs, children that might repeat their names. Instead, they made heirs out of the books of instruction which they composed. They took for themselves the scroll as teacher, priest, and the writing board as a living son. Books of instruction are their pyramids, and the reed pen their child, and the stone surface on which they wrote their wife. The great and small became their children, for the scribe became their leader. Man decays, his corpse becomes dust, and all his relatives die. But a book causes him to be remembered through the mouth of those who quote it. Better is a book than a well-built house, than a tomb in the west. Indeed, a book is better than a great house with a solid foundation or stadium in the temple. Is there anyone like the sage Hadegeth or another like Imhotep? None stands among our relatives who is like Nefertiti or Keti, the foremost of them all. I submit to you the name of Ptah Dejehuti and of Kakepera Soneb. Is there another like Ptahhotep or one who is equal to Pa-Iris? That which came from the mouths of these learned men who foretold the future came to pass. And it is found as a clear statement in their books. They may have concealed their words of power from everyone else. They can be found in their books of instruction. Death may have caused their names to be forgotten, but is there writings that causes them to be remembered? And so we give thanks to the scribes, to the writers, to the speaker of words, to continue to give us information, to share with us, to link us to the past. And so, reading that particular passage, we see the great height and the great admiration that was held for scholarship even in those early times, as well as for the very written or spoken word itself. Because as we take it so much for granted today, in those early times, a written language and a literary class of people was the exception as opposed to the norm. So I thank you for your contributions, and somewhere in your vicinity is the actual litany of sacrifice.
In the worship companion, page 15.
And page 15 in the worship binder, that's the black binder that's in your vicinity. If we could all stand, please. We have Sister Gina and our Lord Princess Jalea at the altar this morning to assist us. Sister Connie plays on the piano. Let us read together. Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the power of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We will praise your name, O Almighty Rock, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kuchakalia,
self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our community together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Ujima, cooperative economics. Together we shall build and maintain our own businesses, and together profit from them.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and development of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
Creativity. We shall do as much as we can, in any way we can, to make our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited.
Together, Imani, faith. We shall believe with all our hearts in our Creator, our people, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Amen. Thank you very much for that. Candles of the Nguzo Saba are burning brightly. We have kneeling pads at the front for those that may wish to come forward. And I will take a few moments to bless these sacrifices. Others, you may have a seat. Assume a prayerful position at your chair. While Sister Connie continues to play on the piano. Holy One, again we come as humble citizens, humble believers and followers of the way, humble seekers of truth and knowledge. And we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this opportunity to be amongst like-minded people, to help validate our efforts, our notions, and our ideas. We thank you for this place, we'll say. We thank you for the teachings. We thank you for the lectures, the conferences, the sharing of knowledges and the books that have passed through these doors. We're thanking you for our minds, O Holy One. The mind that allows us to think of ourselves in a more expansive kind of way. That we may know and understand this notion, this concept of ma'at in a more full and a more developed kind of way. To understand the writings and the teachings and the messages and the information that the ancients left to help us navigate our way more easily. Help us to keep our minds strong and open to truth and understanding. Help us to feed our minds with the information that it needs to develop spiritually. Let us meditate more consistently. And give us strength, O Holy One, in this community. Give us the blessing of health, that we may have the energy to do work. Be with us through this service. Bless the one that will bring us a message of insight and information that we may dwell upon to develop and enlighten ourselves spiritually. Help us, O Holy One. Help us to trust that intuition that allows us to know that we are different from the common beast. Be with us, O Holy One, as we go through the remainder of this service. Again, Bless our sister church in Sacramento as they confront their own struggles. Give them the support, give them the health and the strength and the courage to continue that work. We come asking these things not in vain, but in trusting in all the years that we have already been here. Over the more than 33 years that we have sustained this work. And we come asking, fully trusting that it will continue. And we asked, and we remember those sacrificing and struggling ancestors that struggled so hard and sacrificed so much, that those of us here today enjoying the freedoms that we do, the freedom to come to this place called Jose, to play our drums and to sing our songs and to recall the names of ancestors of long ago. We thank you, Lord. And we just ask for the continual blessings, that we may come to leave something for the next generation, that they may not have to work as hard. So just feeling very blessed and thankful, the Holy One. Be with us. Ashe. Amen. And the next person to come to this podium will be our own lovely, intelligent, beautiful, and dedicated, hardworking Sister Tracy.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Baba.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
Thank you so much. I always joke about how big this podium is because I have to wear heels to be able to see over it. I don't appreciate that. I'm not saying I'm short. Travel size. I'm compact. I'm travel size. But I'm giving thanks to the Most High, the Netchers, the Orishas, the ancestors, for praying their faith-filled prayers to bring us into being. We are indeed the answers to our ancestors' prayers.
Speak it.
Yes.
And so I give thanks for that reality. I give thanks to you, Jose, for welcoming me here today. The topic of my message today is going through it without staying in it.
Teach girl.
Now, has anybody else noticed that a lot of people have been going through a lot lately? It seems like out of nowhere, there has just been a ton of mess. Just everybody I talk to, so many people, they talk about how much they're going through right now. And I think it's pretty remarkable that so many people are going through so much right now. I think it's sort of signaling a time of change, right? So the nice thing about it is, no matter what we're going through, obviously there are always ebbs and flows to everybody.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing is we're still breathing.
Yes.
We're still alive. You know, some of us might just be barely breathing, but when the breath comes, you're happy to get it. It's definitely a blessing. You know, and clearly I was going to ask how many people can relate to this, but obviously I'm hearing a lot of ashe. So y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's right.
It's interesting though that sometimes people are afraid to admit that they've been going through. You know, so many people are afraid to just say, man, I'm just having a tough time with this. You ask people how you doing, I'm fine. Everything's, oh no, it's perfect, it's okay. You know, and I too am guilty of that from time to time. But for the most part, you know, I try to be real open. But people have this feeling that if they express the fact that they are struggling with something, it might make them look weak. You know, it might make them look weak. And I'm here to tell you today that there is no shame in going through it.
All right now.
There's no shame for us individually. And there's no shame for us as a people in going through it.
That's right.
The issue arises when we stay in it.
Come on now. Teach good.
Now, I'm proud to say that I've been going through it. Not proud that I've been going through it.
Right.
But I'm proud to stand up and say,
Thank
yes,
you.
I have been struggling with some life challenges. And it's stuff.
Yes.
It comes.
Yes.
I deal with it.
Yes.
I pray through it. I meditate. I cry. I get mad and decide I'm just not even going to think about it. And then I have to go back to it because it's still there.
That's right.
Right? It happens.
Real.
You know, and me opening up and saying, yes, I'm going through it, helps other people to feel comfortable, I think, in saying, yeah, we're going through it too. Yes, me too. Right?
Yes.
I'm aware that people view me to be a very strong person, and I am. But I also have wants and needs, desires, weaknesses, strengths, and I'm susceptible to human pain. Also known as I'm normal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yay.
Right?
Right.
We all are. It's part of life. It's part of the experience. I once had a disagreement with a roommate who, I'll say, had some opportunities for growth and improvement in the general sanity arena. And she saw me breaking up with a boyfriend at the time, and she started judging me about that experience and seeing me go through that experience. And she told me, you know, you try to pretend that you're strong, but in actuality, you're weak. And I told her, and I'll paraphrase.
Please. Remember where you
I'll
are.
paraphrase. I know to paraphrase.
Okay.
I told her that truly strong people are the ones who are able to admit when they're hurting.
That's right.
Right? Fear of judgment causes us to hide.
Yes.
So, and I'm not talking about wearing all of our emotions on our sleeve, being one of those people that's like, you know, one of those folks see coming, you're like, oh Lord. I'm
Teach
talking
Lord.
about being willing to just be honest,
Yeah.
mainly with ourselves,
Yes.
about the fact that we're going through a painful experience, and then we have to be brave enough to move through that experience and
Yes.
take advantage of it as an opportunity.
Hallelujah.
right.
Yes.
In the Hosea, in the book of Amenemot, it's on page 63. There's passage number 15, Roman numeral XV, and it says, "The strong arm is not weakened by being uncovered, and the back is not broken by bending it in respect." Now sometimes we have to bow in respect to the process. We have to bow down. We have to just release ourselves to the experience we might be having, right? We have to release ourselves into that space, and just sometimes it's like we'll go through stuff, and then we'll arrive at a point where we're like, Lord, I can't do nothing else. Just, Lord, fix it for me. Well, the fact of the matter is, eventually we learn that's the place to start.
Right. Thank you.
Instead of waiting till the last minute, suffering and struggling and being like, I can't do nothing. Recognize that the Most High is in charge anyway. And I'm not talking
Speak it.
about being sedate
Yeah.
and sitting back and thinking things are just going to magically happen on their own. I'm talking about moving through life faithfully, moving through your challenges with faith and prayerfully, understanding that it's all going to get better, because the fact of the matter is that the Most High is in charge anyway.
Yes. Speak
Asking
true.
the Most High, what lesson do you have for me? What lesson am I supposed to learn from this? When we have those moments, we break down in tears, and you're bent over, your mouth is wide open, and you're crying, and you're just like, you know? Those moments, I'm talking about me now, because I'm sure when you have those moments, instead of just, crying and, take advantage of the healing that tears bring.
Teach good. Teach good.
And say, Most High, give thanks for these tears.
Yeah.
And I allow them to wash over me and heal me from
Yeah.
this pain that I am experiencing.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sending me love through these tears, Most High, because I know it is an important part of my healing process.
Hallelujah. Praise God.
It's all part of our general process of growth, right? We live life from the very beginning. There's this constant theme of growth, this growth past process, moving through knowledge, and it builds upon itself constantly, right? Babies, they first learn how to hold their heads up. Then they learn how to sit up on their own. It's a little wobbly, but they learn to sit up on their own. Then they lay on their bellies and they do that little like Superman kick thing.
Right.
They're trying to crawl, but they keep trying. They learn and they try to scoot a little bit. They turn over, try to scoot sideways. And then finally they learn to walk, right? They learn to crawl and then they learn to walk. Then they learn that they can run. And all of a sudden you got little Jesse Owens on your hand. Like, where are they going? It's so fast, right? But we go through that same sort of growth process in our spiritual development. You know, you got to learn how to hold your head up before you can learn to Jesse Owens.
Thank you.
Know that you are not alone. Okay? In 2000 Seasons, on page 213, in case anybody's interested in looking this up later, in the second paragraph, Aikwe Arma writes, the single person is, It's the second paragraph, and actually it starts at the beginning. How infinitely stupefying the prison of the single unconnected viewpoint. Station of cut-off vision. How deftly the separation of faculties, the separation of people. The single agent's action is waste motion. The single agent's freedom is useless liberty. Such individual action can find no sense until there is again that higher connectedness that links each agent to the group. Then the single person is no cutoff thing, but an extension of the living group. The single will, but a piece of the group's active will. Each mind a part of the larger common mind. Then each eye inspires itself with vision springing from group need. The ear is open to sounds beneficial to the listening group. The limbs move and the hands act in unbroken connection with the group. Now, in this part of the book, it's the description of folks coming together in preparation for a rebellion of enslaved people. But let's think about it as a metaphor for our spiritual experience. We are not alone. When we're in that difficult space and we're feeling like we are alone, it's important for us to take a step back and take inventory of just how many are truly with us.
Yeah, that's right.
Now look around this room. Let's look around the room. And look, we see people who we are familiar with. This is the foundational group of our community, right? It's currently being built upon, but this is the foundational group of our community. We are a resource to one another. But even in those moments when we are having challenges, sometimes it's hard for us to remember how many God, spirit, light beings are here with us, taking this journey and who are here to support us. And if we're in the midst of a mess, we're in the midst of a time of despair, and we cannot think of one single solitary human being that's here for us, guess what? You have the Netchers, you have the Orishas, you have the ancestors to call upon.
Yes.
We're not stupid enough to buy into the idea that life ends when your body stops moving.
Speak good.
We know
Teach good.
that we can have and continue to have posthumous relationships with our ancestors, and they give us guidance.
Yes.
We can listen with our hearts, and we hear the Orishas, we hear the Netchers, we hear the Most High speaking directly to us. The ancestors telling us what we need to know and what we need to hear, even in the most difficult times.
All right now.
And for that, we give thanks.
Yes.
We give thanks. We give thanks, because sometimes you talking about making a way out of no way. Sometimes you just don't know what to do. You tried everything, you try to figure it out, you try to move in the way you think you're supposed to move, but it just seems like, man, you have no idea what to do. But if you listen to that greater voice, you listen to what you're being told, that divine guidance you're receiving, everything will be all right.
Right.
You'll move through this experience, and you'll grow through the experience. Now, experiencing pain, experiencing challenges help us build resilience and compassion. Those things they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
It's true. when you live through a horrible experience, like the loss of a child,
Yeah.
you know, like the loss of a parent, like the cancer or whatever you might have lived through and experienced. It helps you not only to know that you came through a great challenge, a great time of challenge, but it also helps you to know what to say when you come across somebody else who needs words of guidance and wisdom and support in that same area.
Yeah, teach you good.
It really does. And what a blessing. Tears heal and love heals. It may seem obvious for me to say it, but pain hurts. We take that fact for granted. Pain hurts. It hurts a lot. And we can be esoteric and we can philosophize about, oh yes, and in the spirit we have this and we move and grow. Listen, it hurts when it's happening.
Yeah, it does.
It hurts when it's happening.
Yeah.
Pain is pain-filled, and pain will push us into that remote place, that individualized place of suffering. Sometimes we get tricked into thinking and feeling we're the only
Only one
one.
going through it.
You know, I can remember times when I've been on a bus or a train and I'm looking around at everybody and I'm going through some mess and I'm looking at everybody else just enjoying their train ride and I'm like, they have no idea what's going on. And, you know, sometimes I'll start feeling, envious, like, gee, I wish I could just look out the window and not think about anything.
Right.
You know? Because you'll feel like they're totally oblivious to the gut-wrenching problems that exist out there. And you never know what they're going through. They might be looking at you thinking the same thing.
That's right. Morning, night.
Ignorance is bliss.
Then you start reminiscing on those times when you weren't going through whatever it was. Like, man, I remember when I was comfortable. I remember last month, 2 years ago, when I remember that one time I went to Waikiki Beach. That was nice. I didn't have none of this mess going on. I didn't have to think about any of this. I remember when I was little. You know, you pass by, you might come drop something off at Illy over there, and you see the kids jumping on the thing and swinging, kicking balls, and you're like, can I have that back? You know, you remember those times and what it was like to not be going through it. But when you're in the midst of that pain, one of the most powerful cures is the acceptance of personal responsibility.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that we personally have caused our pain.
Right.
Because a lot of times this stuff is coming from us, from outside of ourselves, and that stuff is real. You know, we deal with it. But I tell you what, we are empowered to address and alleviate it.
That's right.
We are empowered to address and alleviate it.
That's right.
And again, we are not alone. So in 2000 Seasons, there is a part where a person named Sobo is planning the slave rebellion, or the rebellion of enslaved people. It's the shipboard rebellion. And during that time, when Sobo is making those plans, Sobo considers the entire group. And this is very, very African. It says on page 219, the second paragraph, it says, Sobo waited till the words had traveled round, meaning the plan. Everybody knew the plan. So mind you, he's in the midst of like, we about to do this, timing is important, you know, we got to, they done set the ship on fire, and now they like, you know, time is of the essence, right?
Right.
So Sobo's waiting until the word gets around, and he's being observant, staying calm, so nobody will notice, you know, what's going on, right? The word gets around about the rebellion, and then he asks finally, who among us cannot swim to save ourselves? He didn't just move forward with the rebellion like, well, we're going to have a few casualties, oh well. Sobo stopped and said, who among us cannot swim to save himself? And there was only one, a little boy, who answered. And he said, where he came from, water was not a thing to play with, and not many ever learned to swim. Then Sobo, who's leading this rebellion, says, who is strong enough to stay with him and lend him strength? Sobo sang the question. That's what it says. A woman and a man offered their strength. And so in this passage, Ma'at balance offered its strength. The masculine and the feminine offered its strength. It's a very symbolic passage. Ma'at balance, good, righteousness, harmony, right? Offered its strength to the child, this being still in the midst and process of development. Offered its strength so that it could move forward and enjoy the same freedom. When we are in the midst of whatever we're in the midst of in growth and development at various stages, we're children. We go back to being children. We're wide-eyed. We're learning to walk. We're just sort of relearning how to understand life in the world around us. And how often do other people stand up around us and say, we'll stay back and support you. We have that. And that, indeed, is a blessing. So earlier, I talked a little bit about fear, right? We all have fears. They're usually unwarranted. My fear of spiders is ridiculous. I mean, I tried to come to an agreement with them. I have a lot of them in my house for whatever reason. And I told them, as long as you stay in your area, you're fine. But when you venture into my part of the house, that's a problem. I don't charge them rent. I just tell them these are your rules. Right? That being said, like I said, fears are unwarranted, but typically they're very instructive. And we need to pay attention to the fears that we might hold about something so that we can learn about what part of ourselves, what in our lives needs a healing. So again, we know that being in the midst of a challenging situation can be very difficult experience, but there's so much information in it. We learn because if we're in a healthy situation, right? If we're in a healthy spiritual situation, meaning we're growing, we're going to be introspective. We're going to start asking ourselves questions. We're going to start asking the Most High questions. Lord, why? Why is this happening? What is going on? Where did this come from? I know I've done this before. I keep making the same mistake. Why do I do that? We start asking ourselves questions about how this phenomenon came about and came to be. And we start trying to figure out what's wrong so we can stop it.
Thank you.
It's almost like when a cricket gets in your house. Have you ever had a cricket in your house?
Yes.
Right. Mama Fania is like, yes. Oh, you never had a cricket in your house. Well, when a cricket gets into your house, you hear it. And the first thing, because especially after you've had a cricket in your house for the first time, it's like terror. Like you hear the cricket and you're like, that wasn't a cricket, that wasn't a cricket. Then you go into denial. You're like, that wasn't a cricket. And then you hear it, cricket, the little noise just going, and you're like, oh, okay. So then you start tearing up the house trying to find this cricket. And it will not shut up.
Right.
Just keep going, cricket. And fine, I like nature as much as the next person, but I like nature outside. Unless I invited it in with a couple of house plants, whatever. But a chirping cricket, I'm a very hard sleeper, but that will keep me up. I don't know why. So you tear your house up looking for this cricket, and you looking at other stuff. You're pulling the couch out, pulling behind books, lifting up rugs, and in the process, you start finding stuff. You're like, oh, there's that button. There's a dollar. I can put that in my car for the parking meter. You start finding other stuff. And then finally you find the cricket and you're like, victory! I found it, yes! Thank you, Most High, Holy Spirit, and ancestors for leading me to this doggone cricket because I thought it would drive me crazy. And aren't those crickets, or isn't that cricket chirping just like problems we have sometimes? Right? You get the problem and you think, no, it's not a problem. But then it's just still there. Cricket. That same problem. Right? Chirping to try to make you address it. And you try to tell yourself, no, it's fine. I can live with it. But it's still chirping bit by bit. Right? And eventually it just breaks you down. And you get to a point where you're like, all right, I gotta try to deal with this. I gotta take it apart. Because it's got to go. Right? So we have to get at the source. But in the process, we learn so much. We find a button, we find a dollar, we find things that are valuable to us, things that we might have been looking for before, but couldn't find. But in the process of trying to alleviate this chirping, we experienced discovery.
Yes.
Who couldn't call that a blessing?
Come on now.
Who could not call that a blessing? It does not always feel like it.
Thank you.
That's
So
right.
who couldn't call it a blessing?
Yes.
And again, I'm speaking about it very cleanly and clearly, but I know it sure enough does hurt. Okay? So in the book of Dialogue with the Soul, in the Hosea, on page 80, passage 1, now I'll give you a chance to find it in the Hoseas. You should have Hosea close to you. I'll tell you that when I was in the midst of a challenge a few years ago, I went to my altar, which is what I typically do. I sat down, I opened the Hosea, and I let it fall open. Because I know that the Most High is going to send me whatever information I need, wherever it falls open. And I came to this passage, and I was like, oh, thank you so much. So let's read it together. Page 80, passage number 1. Page 80. I spoke to my soul that I might answer what it said. To whom shall I speak today? Brothers and sisters are evil, and friends today are not worth loving. Hearts are great with greed, and everyone seizes his or her neighbor's goods. Kindness has passed away, and violence is imposed on everyone. To whom shall I speak today? People unwillingly accept evil, and goodness is cast to the ground everywhere. Those who should enrage people by their wrongdoing make them laugh at their evil deeds. People plunder, and everyone seizes his or her neighbor's goods. Now, typically we have spiritual texts, and there's an expectation of just some esoteric, positive, or wholly, completely and totally, quote unquote, positive or comfortable message. This book, the book of Contemplations, right? It is about asking those questions.
Yes, it is.
It's about asking those questions. It's about introspection. It's about getting to the source of understanding what you're in the midst of and why it's happening, what's going on. And then it is so familiar to us as a dialogue, because it's a dialogue that we often have with the Most High, saying, all this is going on, God, what is happening? What is happening, and how do I move through it? Now, the contemplative process, like I said, if you stay in it, that's a challenge, right? You can keep thinking around things, but if you just stay mired in this passage without looking at the rest of the book,
Right.
that's a problem. It becomes a problem. Things like escapism come into play. Okay? So I've shared often about, or on a number of occasions, about my cousin who just earlier this year succumbed to his addiction.
Yes.
He had lived a long life and just really hurt himself for years with his addiction. He experienced various types of trauma as a youth, including the murder of a man who was his father figure. And he became a very troubled youth, so to speak, and dove headfirst into drug use for years and years and years and years. And I watched him, the times when I saw him outside of jail or saw him, somewhere panhandling or whatever was going on. I just watched him go through this experience. And it was my independent theory that, and I think a very wise theory, that he was trying to numb himself
Yes.
from thinking about all that stuff that's going on. Sometimes people get a little haughty and start thinking about folks who have struggled with addiction as, that's them, they're weak, they're whatever. But the fact of the matter is, pain hurts. And people try to numb themselves from the pain.
Yes.
And so understanding that, we understand what we need to do to help our folks get past that experience when they come to a point where they're ready to move forward in that way. Now, he tried to escape by thoroughly just checking out of reality. Now, I'm going to share with you some of my own personal business. I have struggled with addiction for a number of years. Okay? The addiction that I experience makes me very sick. It has caused me no end of health problems. It It's something that I have not been able to release, even though my doctors say this is a very bad thing for me. Okay? Now, I give thanks that my addictions have a different set of circumstances.
Right.
All be them, even though they're bad. I'm addicted, and it might not sound like a big deal to some folks, but I am addicted to dairy products. I cannot stop eating them. It is making me very sick. I have developed asthma. It causes me to have rashes. It's causing me digestive problems, but I just went out the other day and ate some nachos. Right? I'm causing myself bodily harm by ingesting something that is not good for me, that is not recommended, and that is causing me life problems. How is that any different than heroin? I have no place to judge. If I cannot put down the yogurt, if I cannot put down the ice cream, if I cannot put down the cheese, I have no place to judge anybody. Right? I have addiction to fear. I have a tendency to be afraid of moving forward with things, and luckily, that hasn't been as stifling as some other things, but I do struggle with that sometimes. I struggle with fear. And how many of us have that same experience? It holds us back from realizing our divine destiny, right? It causes me to jump into another addiction, reality detached media. I love fairy tales. I love fairy tales, Facebook, and period films about years gone by, things that look nothing like any reality that I'm really familiar with. Why? Because I don't have to think about anything real. That's another form of escapism.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I indulge in it on a regular basis. I'm just telling the truth.
Okay.
I'm telling the truth. But I have to start thinking about the reality of what needs to be. Right? The things that I have to do to heal myself from those addictions. It's not really the addictions, it's the things that I'm trying not to think about.
Right.
So now I'm confronting them head first. Right? I'm taking charge. I'm recognizing my own God-given power. Right? And I'm standing in that power. So eventually, even though I get off track, eventually I always find myself back on the path. Right? There's always that voice, that still small voice inside, no matter how bad things get. I always have that voice that's like, all right, it's time to get on it. Almost like that mom voice. It's like, all right, now time to leave the playground, time to whatever, time to go, time for bed. That guiding voice. And I know that that's the voice of the Most High. I know that's a divine voice.
Yes.
How many times have you been afraid to move forward with something? How many times has fear stopped you from bringing forth your highest and greatest good? The Most High sends each and every one of us here with a special gift that the world needs. And we have to be careful not to let fear stifle us from being able to move forward, whether it's fear of failure in a business enterprise, or whether it's fear of using a computer, because all of a sudden this is technology that is new, and I'm not comfortable with it. Right? Don't allow fear to keep you from your highest and greatest good, because the fact of the matter is, even when the Most High gives us all the tools that we need, every single solitary tool we could possibly need, and we're very good at outlining, Lord, I just need this, I need a wrench, and if I just had this, and if I just could possibly get this, I know we'll be all right. And we get those things and we still don't necessarily move forward. Why? Because it wasn't the tools, it was really the fear of whatever it is that's holding us back. And that's what we need to confront so that we can heal ourselves and move forward. So now we know better than just to pray for the resources. We need to pray for the strength and energy necessary to bring our visions into fruition. We need to pray knowing that it is already done, because we are co-creators with the Most High. That's a gift we're given from birth. And I'm not talking about birth of the body. I'm talking about conception of the spirit. From the very beginning of our existence as light beings, we were given that gift. We're twins with the Most High. And we've also been given this divine support system. will say exists, and we have all radiated towards it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if we were people, there are some of us, some amongst us who were founders or part of a founding group of members. You radiated towards one another because the Most High wanted to provide you with a divine support system. And we are this divine support system for one another. We're a divine support system for the children of Eleona Day. We're a divine support system for the community that's constantly tapping into us for a space or for prayer or for whatever it is. So what I will tell you is that I've been really managing another experience of fear around starting ministerial training here. Part of it is fear, part of it was just really understanding that that's a really big decision. Mm-hmm. It's a very big commitment.
Yes, it is.
And so, you know, I'll share some of I'll call them silly things that I thought. In my mind, I was like, these people don't want to hear my mouth. I'm always talking about something, they don't want to hear me. You know, or am I really going to be that good? I can never remember anything. You know, my memory has a tendency to be pretty short. So I'm like, how am I going to be able to do messages and carry out the work I need to do? I can't remember nothing. I'm never on time. What kind of example is that? I have no idea what to do with children. No idea. I don't know. I be making it up. I have no idea.
That's the most of
I was like, what am and the teenagers who are such special beings, they're so important. I be like, what am I supposed to do with them? How do I know what to do? You know? Because they're so important. And again, I look at the work that I do with the youth, with the community, as something that is just so precious. I just don't want to get it wrong. So for this past year, I've been like talking to people and like interviewing the other ministers. And so what do you think? Well, let's get, here's a chance for you to get to know me. I am a Virgo, and I have a tendency to make up things and tasks that I need to do before I can move forward with something, because that's just who I am. But what it does give me is a chance for introspection. It does give me a chance to feel like I've been responsible in my choice. So it is with great joy that I tell you today that I am officially submitting myself as a I love this community. Thank you. And I told Bobby Gray beforehand, he was like, how you gonna announce when I ain't here? But just know that I have been going through all this stuff. So when you need some help, trust and believe I have some experiences to refer to, and whatever it is, we can figure it out for ourselves. So again, I give thanks for this community. I give thanks for the lessons that I've learned that have brought me to this point, and I give thanks for the example of steadfastness that I see for people in this community that have come through this community, that have been involved with this community. I give thanks for my parents and for the support that they've given me and the love that they've given me. And I promise to do my best as one of the part of the community. We've come to the end of our service, and it is time for our closing. If we could all come together and join hands.
Hey.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't move. We on the move. We are on the move.
So are we, do we have any announcements?
Our announcement is that we're going to begin our election process, beginning this week. I have the beginning stages, a ballot of what it's going to look like. This will be the time when you choose or nominate either yourself or someone for an office. And again, that's the first step. I would share with you that don't run just to run. We'd love to have all of our volunteers participate in this process because it's a very important, it's a critical one as we move forward, as we're growing, as we're changing in the dynamics and in our numbers and in our people who are new to us. But be mindful that leadership is going to be very important. Just as Sister Tracy has just shared with us, think about, you know, what that responsibility is and what it calls for. And then there are those who may want to run for office, who has an office, may want to change just by what they've learned so far. So for me, I will just be passing out the forms. That's all I will do.
Thank you, Mama. Any other announcements?
We're still having the meeting after this community meeting? The community meeting is still today?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Oh, okay. Apparently, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Nominated.
And the nominations are submitted today?
Perfect. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I have an announcement. My group, First Edition Trio, is going to be returning to 57th Street Gallery
Nice.
November the 2nd.
Nice.
And I'd
And they
love to
learn.
see people from Mose there.
Okay,
All right now.
I was at the last one. November 2nd. Really good.
Nice.
November the
Yes.
2nd, that's a Saturday.
Yeah, and it's a nice spot too.
At what
Yes, it
time?
8:30 to 11.
8:30 to 11 p.m.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I
What
guess
day of the week is that?
that's a Saturday.
Saturday, November 2nd.
All right, and one more announcement. I've been working with a group called Afrocentric Oakland, and they are a group of 20 to 40 somethings who have
Age or
age.
number?
Sorry, 20 to 40 people. That's a big old range.
I just wanted to, that's true.
So a group of 20 to 40 somethings who are responsible for planning the Pan-African Family Reunion, which many people attended. So the nice thing is that they're the part of the demographic that we are working to attract more of, right? And I've talked about Ile-Omade so much, and will say so much that they have decided to adopt Ile-Omade. So we're actually going to do a site visit next week, and I have to talk to Baba Jahi and Mama Pam about it. We just came to that conclusion last night, but the person who's one of the leaders of the group is doing that. But it gives they were talking about wanting to do service, have a day of service, and they're like, we need to beautify Oakland schools, and I was like, I will fight every person in here if you do not start Ile-Omade. It's our stuff. I will beat everybody up. Just teasing, but so yes, that's good. That's good news. So if there are no more announcements, we'll go ahead and proceed with our closing.
Rejoicing, rise, how is the
that we are one people,
One people.
having one faith,
One faith.
one aim,
One aim.
one destiny,
One destiny.
and one Most High God.
One God.
We give thanks and we say, you are the most beautiful people on the face of this earth. Birthdays, no birthdays?
Yeah, I have some.
No birthdays?
Carl's birthday was yesterday.
Yay!
Big 60.